Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time we're really digging into something special,
Oh, yeah.
as a man thinketh. It's,
A classic.
yeah, more than a century old,
Mm-hmm.
and it's had a huge impact, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
It's all about this idea, and you've probably heard the phrase, you are what you eat,
Right.
but this book kind of flips that around.
Turns it on its head.
Yeah, it's more like, you are what you think.
I love that.
So we're going to dive into how James Allen connects thoughts to reality.
Yeah.
And see if you know these ideas from over 100 years ago
Mm-hmm.
still hold up today.
Well, and it's amazing because Alan was writing way back in 1903,
Wow.
and he was tapping into something that, we're now just starting to really understand with modern psychology and neuroscience. It's this power of our thoughts to shape our experiences.
Okay, so this isn't just like, positive thinking or putting on a happy face.
Definitely not.
This is,
Yes, sir.
it feels deeper. Yeah.
Much deeper.
So what is he really getting at here?
So Alan's argument is that thoughts are like seeds.
Okay.
You think of like an acorn.
Oh.
It can only grow into an oak tree, right?
Right.
Our thoughts work the same way.
Right.
Even the ones we barely notice, they grow into our actions
Wow.
and end up shaping our entire lives.
So it's like that cause and effect
Yeah.
we see everywhere in the world.
Exactly.
Every action has a reaction.
Every action has a reaction.
But it starts with a thought.
Yes, exactly. So our thoughts are the cause, and then all of our experiences, our character, even our health, those become the effects.
And he's saying this applies to everything.
He does. He takes it even further and says even those things that seem totally spontaneous,
Oh, wow.
they're actually rooted in some thought, whether we're conscious of it or not.
That is powerful.
It's a powerful concept, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And it makes me think about those times I was like convinced I was going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And then guess what I totally did?
Yeah.
Like I remember this one presentation I had to give.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so nervous beforehand.
Oh.
I just knew I was going to bomb it.
You had that feeling.
Yeah. And then I totally did. Is that what Alan's talking about?
It sounds like a classic example of what he calls a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay.
It's like that quote from the book. He says, act as the blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are its fruits.
Ooh, I like that.
They're always planting these mental seeds, and then we reap what we sow.
So we really have to pay attention to what we're thinking.
That's painful. Yeah.
If we're constantly thinking negative,
Yeah.
we're probably going to have a rough time.
Right.
But if we can shift to the positive,
Mm-hmm.
it makes you wonder how much control we actually have.
It's a big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Alan doesn't say that life's going to be perfect,
Right.
but he does say that we have this incredible power to shape our own experiences.
Okay.
And he uses this analogy that I find so helpful. He compares it to tending a garden.
Okay. I like that.
Cultivating positive thoughts is like tending our garden. We're weeding out the negative stuff and nurturing the good stuff.
That's a really cool visual.
It is. It's powerful.
But what about those things that happen that are totally outside of our control?
Yeah.
Does that mess up our garden too?
That's a great point. And Alan does acknowledge that there are going to be external challenges.
Right.
But he really emphasizes how we respond to them internally.
Okay.
He gives this example of a man who wants to be wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
but he's using all these shady business practices.
Oh.
So his inner conflict is actually sabotaging his goals.
So he's like planting wealth seeds,
He is
but in bad soil.
exactly like the soil's been poisoned by his dishonesty.
That is such a good way to put it.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And it reminds me of this time I was trying to get a promotion at work,
Oh, yeah.
but I wasn't really putting in the work.
Hmm.
I wanted the title,
Right.
but I wasn't really acting in a way
Yeah.
that would get me there.
Your actions and your desires weren't aligned.
Exactly. And it didn't work out.
Well, and that leads perfectly into one of the most powerful lines in the whole book.
Okay, what is it?
Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are.
Ooh, that's good.
What do you think about that?
It's so true. I mean, wanting something isn't enough.
It's not?
It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally embodies those qualities.
Mm-hmm.
But that sounds hard.
Mm-hmm.
How do we even begin to do that?
Well, Alan says it starts with recognizing that we're not just victims of circumstance.
Okay.
We actually have the power to change our internal state, and that influences our external reality.
Okay.
But he doesn't stop there.
There's more.
There's more. He goes on to talk about how our thoughts directly impact our physical health.
Really?
Yeah.
Which might sound a bit out there.
It does sound a little out there.
Yeah.
But I've always been fascinated by that mind-body connection.
It's fascinating.
And he uses this really striking example in the book.
Well, yeah.
He says, thoughts of fear can literally kill as swiftly as a bullet.
That's intense.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah.
It really is. He's really highlighting how deeply intertwined our mental and physical states really are.
Right. So he's not saying we can, like,
No.
cure diseases with positive thinking.
Yeah.
But he is saying that our mind has a powerful influence
It does.
over our body.
For sure.
It's like our bodies become canvases
Okay.
for our thoughts.
I like that.
And the colors and the vibrancy are directly tied
Yeah.
to what we're thinking and feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think about, you know, those stories you hear about people who seem to age backwards
Yeah.
because they have such a positive outlook on life.
Right, like they're radiating youthfulness.
Exactly. And then on the flip side,
Yeah.
he describes this middle-aged man who looks much older
Right.
because he's weighed down by negativity.
He's carrying all that weight.
Yeah. So it's not about resigning ourselves
No.
to a certain state of health. It's about realizing that we actually have a role to play
You do.
in our own well-being.
Exactly.
That's empowering.
It is incredibly empowering.
So we've got thoughts shaping reality, impacting our health.
We do.
This is a lot to take in.
It is a lot.
And this is just the beginning.
We're just getting started.
I can't wait to hear what else he has to say.
Me too. This is fascinating.
Yeah, it's like having this powerful sports car, but no destination in mind.
Right.
You know, all that power is wasted without a clear direction.
So we need a roadmap.
We do.
But even
Yeah.
figuring that out, like, what is my purpose?
Yeah.
That can feel overwhelming.
Absolutely.
I've definitely struggled with that.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel lost and unsure about their direction.
Mm-hmm.
Alan actually warns against this, like, aimless drifting. He compares it to a ship without a rudder, just tossed about by the waves.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. And he encourages us to choose a purpose, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's in our career, our relationships, personal growth, spirituality, anything really.
Okay, so we need a purpose.
We do.
But what if I'm not ready for like some big life-altering purpose?
You know, I'm still figuring things out.
Yeah.
Does Alan have any advice for people like me?
He does. He suggests focusing on what he calls faultless execution,
Okay.
even in the smallest of tasks.
Really?
Yeah, so even if it's just like washing the dishes or replying to an email,
Right.
do it with complete attention and care.
Wow. I never thought of it that way.
Right.
So even mundane stuff can be like a stepping stone to
Oh.
self-mastery.
Yeah, if we approach it with intention.
Like we're training our minds to focus.
Exactly. And this practice, according to Alan, it strengthens our concentration and cultivates this sense of resolution,
Okay.
which are essential for success in any field.
And as we get better at those smaller tasks,
Mm-hmm.
we can take on bigger challenges.
Exactly. It's like leveling up in a video game.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Right. You gain experience and skills by completing those smaller quests, and then that prepares you for those bigger boss battles.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've got this purpose, and then we're taking action even in small ways.
We are.
But Alan also talks about visions and ideals,
He does.
and he says something pretty bold.
He does. What's that?
He says, dreamers are the saviors of the world.
Wow.
I mean, that's a big statement.
It is a big statement.
So it's not enough to just focus on like the everyday stuff.
Right.
We also need those big inspiring visions
I do those big dreams.
to pull us forward.
They're essential.
Okay, so give me an example.
Okay, well, he uses examples like Columbus,
Oh, yeah?
who envisioned this whole new world,
Right.
and Copernicus,
Yeah.
who imagined a much wider universe.
Mm-hmm.
They achieved their dreams through persistent vision and effort.
And of course, there's Buddha,
Yes.
you know, who dreamt of a world of peace and ultimately reached enlightenment.
A powerful example.
You mean their visions weren't just fantasies?
No, they weren't.
They became their reality.
They did.
So he's saying our dreams can be like blueprints for our lives.
Yeah. He is, and he has this great quote about it. He says, "The vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, this you will build your life by, this you will become."
So those daydreams I have about writing a best-selling novel,
Mm-hmm.
those aren't just silly distractions.
They could be guiding your journey.
I always thought of like dreaming and doing
Yeah.
as separate things.
It's easy to compartmentalize them.
Yeah?
But Alan suggests they're actually deeply connected. The act of dreaming, of holding that vision, it's a really powerful first step in the creation process.
It sets the intention.
It does, and then the action follows.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
We have.
We've got thoughts, shaping reality, the importance of purpose,
Mm-hmm.
the power of visions, but we haven't touched on serenity yet.
Right.
You mentioned that earlier.
I did.
As like the final piece of the puzzle.
It is a key concept in the book.
Okay, so tell me about that.
Well, serenity is described as this jewel of wisdom,
Oh,
the ultimate fruit of self-mastery.
But it's not just about, like, hoping for peace.
No, it's not. It's about truly understanding and mastering our own minds.
Right, because in today's world,
Yeah,
it feels so hard to find that peace.
it does. There's so much stimulation and information overload,
Constantly.
and that's exactly why Alan emphasizes its importance. He even suggests that serenity, it's not just this internal state.
Really?
It actually radiates outward
Wow.
and influences how we interact with others and even how we lead.
He paints a beautiful picture of a serene person.
He does.
He describes them as this source of strength and stability,
Yeah.
even amidst chaos and uncertainty.
Mhm.
Don't we all need a little more of that?
We could all use a little more serenity in our lives, couldn't we?
Absolutely.
It's like that line from the book where he says, "Tempest-tossed souls, wherever ye may be, under whatsoever conditions you may live. Know this, in the ocean of life, the isles of blessedness are smiling, and the sunny shore of your ideal awaits your coming."
That's beautiful.
It is.
It makes you feel like peace is possible,
It does.
even when things feel really chaotic.
Even in the midst of the storm.
So we have to, like, take control and cultivate that inner peace.
Did you do?
But we're not going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time.
Right. We're human.
What does Alan say about those days?
That's such an important question.
Yeah.
And he doesn't suggest that we should just suppress or deny those negative emotions.
Yeah.
He actually emphasizes understanding where they're coming from
Okay.
and then consciously choosing to replace them with something more empowering.
So it's like weeding our mental garden.
I love that analogy.
We have to identify those weeds,
Yeah.
understand where they're coming from,
Mm-hmm.
and then pull them out
Gently pull them out.
so they don't keep coming back.
Exactly. It's not about denying they exist. It's about choosing to plant something better in their place.
I like that. And he gives a really specific technique
He does.
for how to do that.
What's that?
He says, whenever a negative thought comes up,
Uh-huh.
immediately replace it with its opposite.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're feeling anxious,
Yeah.
consciously choose to focus on peace and calmness.
Okay.
Or if you're feeling resentful,
Mm-hmm.
cultivate thoughts of forgiveness and compassion.
It's like we're training our minds to shift gears, to consciously choose a more positive perspective.
But is that really possible?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, can we actually control our thoughts that much?
Well, Alan believes we can. He reminds us that our minds are incredibly malleable. And by consistently choosing to focus on the positive,
Yeah.
we're literally rewiring our brains for greater happiness and peace.
But doesn't that sound a little bit like toxic positivity? Like we're just supposed to pretend everything's okay,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
even when it's not.
That's not what he's advocating for at all.
Okay.
It's not about pretending or suppressing our emotions.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging them, understanding them, and then making that conscious choice to shift our focus.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we always have a choice in how we respond to our circumstances.
So it's not about denying the negative.
No.
It's about choosing to focus on the positive.
Exactly.
But what good is thinking positive thoughts if we don't actually do anything?
That is a crucial point.
Yeah.
Alan is very clear that we can't just sit around thinking positive thoughts all day.
Right.
We need to put those thoughts into action
Okay.
if we want to see real change in our lives.
So our thoughts are like the blueprint,
Yes,
but action is what brings that blueprint to life.
exactly. It's like that saying, well begun is half done.
Right.
Alan uses the analogy of a blacksmith forging iron.
Okay.
The blacksmith has a vision for what they want to create.
Hmm.
But that vision only becomes a reality through focused effort and repeated action.
Right.
It's the combination of thought and action that creates lasting change.
That makes a lot of sense. It's easy to get caught up in the thinking part
It is.
and forget about the doing part.
We need both.
Yeah, but even if we're clear on our goals
Mhm.
and we're taking action,
Yeah,
sometimes we hit roadblocks and setbacks.
we do.
Does Alan talk about that?
He does. He acknowledges that setbacks and failures are actually inevitable parts of the journey.
Really?
Yeah.
He doesn't see them as like a sign of weakness
Not at all.
or a reason to give up.
Nope. They're actually opportunities to learn, adapt, and grow.
So even those moments when we stumble or fall,
Yeah,
those are valuable experiences.
they are.
They can help us get back on track.
They can and ultimately reach our destination.
I love that perspective.
It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels so much more realistic and encouraging.
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It's like we're allowed to mess up,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
We're human.
Exactly. Alan reminds us we're all works in progress.
Mm-hmm.
And this personal growth thing, It's a journey, not a destination.
It is.
It's like tending a garden.
Right.
Requires constant nurturing and care. You don't just plant a seed and expect a full-blown plant the next day.
That's true.
Hmm?
We have to be patient
We do.
with
right?
ourselves.
Yeah,
Trust the process.
absolutely.
But it's hard sometimes, especially when it seems like everyone else
Yeah.
is achieving amazing things all the time.
Comparison is a real trap, isn't it?
It is.
Especially in this age of social media.
Ugh, don't even get me started.
It's so easy to get caught up in those highlight reels
Mhm.
and forget that everyone faces challenges and setbacks.
Right. So how do we stay focused on our own growth?
Well, remember, just like plants need sunlight and water to thrive,
Right.
we need to nourish our minds
Yeah.
with positive thoughts, inspiring ideas, uplifting experiences.
So it's not just about eliminating the negative.
No, it's not.
It's also about actively cultivating the positive.
It is. It's like making sure our mental gardens are getting all the nutrients they need.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
And that makes me think about our environment too.
Yeah.
You know, the people we surround ourselves with, the books. We read all that stuff.
Absolutely. It's like that saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right.
If we're constantly surrounded by negativity, it's going to be a lot harder to maintain a positive outlook. It's true. So we have to be mindful
We do.
of the mental food we're consuming.
We do. Alan encourages us to surround ourselves with positive influences.
Yeah.
Whether that's through supportive friends, inspiring books, uplifting music, you know.
So it's about being proactive,
Yeah.
creating that positive mental environment.
It is like choosing to plant our gardens in fertile soil.
I love that.
Right, in a place where they have the best chance of flourishing.
Absolutely. It's been incredible exploring all these ideas.
It has.
You know, Alan focuses so much on the power of individual thought,
He does.
but it makes me wonder, could these ideas apply to social change as well?
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah, if our individual thoughts are so powerful,
Mm-hmm.
could a collective shift in consciousness actually create a more just and equitable world?
It's a really interesting idea to think about.
It is.
You know, if enough individuals embrace these principles.
Yeah, like choosing to focus on love,
Yeah.
compassion, understanding,
Yeah.
could that create like a ripple effect?
That transforms society as a whole.
It's certainly a possibility, and we see glimpses of this in movements like nonviolent resistance,
Oh, yeah.
where individuals come together to challenge injustice through peaceful means.
And those leaders, like Gandhi,
Yeah.
Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela,
Incredible examples.
they all understood the power of collective thought and action
They did.
to create lasting change.
Powerful stuff.
It reminds us that our thoughts aren't just personal.
They're not.
They can impact the world around us
It can.
in really profound ways.
We're all interconnected,
We are.
and our individual choices ripple outward,
They do.
influencing the collective consciousness.
This has been such a thought-provoking deep dive.
It has been.
And it's amazing how a book written over a century ago
I know.
can still feel so relevant today.
It's timeless.
Yeah, it speaks to those timeless principles, you know,
Yeah,
and their power to transform individuals,
absolutely.
and maybe even the world.
Maybe so.
Well, as we wrap up, I'd love to leave our listener with one final thought from James Allen.
Oh, I like that. What is it?
It says, mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind.
That's a good one.
So to our listener,
Yes.
we encourage you to pick up a copy of As a Man Thinketh.
Yes,
Explore its wisdom for yourself.
definitely.
Remember, your thoughts are powerful tools.
They are.
Use them wisely. Cultivate your mental garden with care,
Mm.
and watch your world transform.
I love it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep thinking deeply
Yes.
and living intentionally.